Amazing. Hi, I'm Dr. Randall Hall Walker, and my wonderful co-host is with me today, my darling, darling baby, my sweet and sexy lady. Ooh, I keep forgetting. I'm on Christian television. My goodness. Well, my co-host, Skrdla Hall Walker, is just an awesome, extraordinary, amazing young lady, and I am so blessed. We have been married 33 years. Can we give it up for her? What can I say? I mean, hey. And it has been a journey to greatness, and so I'm excited, and I take interest in marriages. I think marriages are special. I think God ordained them. I think that God sanctifies marriage, and He ordained marriage. I believe that with all my heart. And so I have an interesting couple that's going to be sharing again. I trust you enjoyed them last week on the broadcast as they were sharing a little bit of their life, but we're going to share more today. We're going to hear more from their life and how they met and the great dynamics of their marriage and their children. And I think they kind of got a Brady Bunch kind of deal going on. But anyway, I'll let them share about that. But before I do, I want my darling, darling sweetheart, Skrdla Hall Walker, to just greet those who are watching by way of television. Look into that camera and just greet the wonderful people and tell them you love them, or just wave at them, or throw a kiss at them, or whatever you want to do.
Hi, I'm Skrdla, and I'm so excited to be on this show today. I feel like this is one of the most extraordinary shows because it's so controversial, with people having such issues with prejudice and racism. And here we have my sister-in-law, whom I'm so excited. We've been together for 30-some years. She was 19, and
Wow.
I have to admit that it's unusual for a sister and sister-in-law to really get along. And I have to say that of the 30-some years we've been together, we've never had an issue. Never. We've always worked it out, no matter what it was. And now here I'm sitting with her. I'm excited about the fact that she's here, and she's with her new husband, who's Mike. The other one was Mike. I'm just
A
excited
new Mike,
to be
huh?
here. And do I get to ask my question? While
Yes,
I'm
go right
talking?
ahead since
And so
started.
it was just being with the other Mike for 25 years, it was uncomfortable and uneasy, but the thing that I wanted for her more than anything was for her to be happy. Yes. I just wanted her to be happy. I had my own issues which had nothing to do with her, but I'm looking at the two of them, and this is the first time I've met my brother-in-law, but in meeting him, I see why she's so happy. He knows how to love her, and she knows how to receive that love, and in receiving it, it's made her a very happy woman, and I see the change in her life, and I'm so happy for both of you.
Thank you.
What I want to ask, you have 3 children. You have 3 children. How did the family accept the two of you coming together? And Mike, I want to ask you the question. Let's see if you
I
can
was
answer.
gonna say, take that one.
Well, right before, now I want you to, it's obvious that this is an interracial couple, and this is what we're dealing with on the show. We're dealing today with interracial marriages.
Yes.
So I want to encourage you who are watching by way of television to give us your opinion. We'd like to hear from you as to whether you're for or against interracial marriages. You can email us at journeytogreatnessbc@gmail.com or call us at 704-322-8010.
Oh, well, great question, thank you. So how they received it, I'm gonna speak about Carrie's children, and then I'll let her talk about my kids. But in the beginning, for the boys, they're the older two. Mike is, well, at the time he was 28, and Kyle was around 20, and they did not like me. So, but I don't think it was a racial thing. It was because, hey, this guy's dating my mother. What's
Right.
going on here, you know? And so that was the only issue. Within a year, I mean, we were all best friends, right? So, yeah. And Morgan, she was on board the whole time. She's a sweet girl, and we hit it off right away.
Well, you know, one of the things, Mike, I think with the kids, I wasn't there, but I do know a little something about kids. And one of the things that I do know, they just want to know that you love their mom. And once they were assured of that, then they got past anything that was a problem or issue once they just knew. Because that's one of the things that a kid may have some reservations about. When I met my darling baby, my son, Roger David Smith, was 15. And one of the things I did as a father was pour into his life that I loved his mom. And I found favor. And I think once you show the children that you love each other, then they have a sense of appreciation, they relax, they're comfortable, because they just want to know mom and dad is happy. And as long as mom is happy or dad is happy, they're happy. Mike?
Definitely. So yeah, once that happened, I mean, we all get along great. The kids together get along. They got along instantly.
Instantly.
Yeah, and so that was never an issue. Carrie can tell you about how it was for her and my kids.
Well, I met his family all at once at dinner, and that was pretty interesting. And like he said before, our children, they pair up nicely. I have 2 boys and a girl, so does he. And the older sons are both married with children. So we have 4 grandchildren, a boy and a girl each. And there we all were at dinner, and his oldest son came over and he said, my dad is just so happy, and I've always wanted him to be happy, and I'm glad that he is. And his youngest son, let's see, Jake at the time I think was 14. And he was fine. I think that all of our children were still dealing with the fact that there had been a breakup between their parents, and it didn't matter what the ages were. I think what Mike and I were both responsible for was giving them the space that they needed to heal from that,
Awesome.
and being open and transparent as much as we could. Also, I understand blended families. When I was married before, I had 2 stepsons from that marriage. I grew up in a blended family, and I've had a big opportunity to watch what people do well and what they don't do so well. And when it came to Mike's daughter, that's where the challenge was for me, because she's really close to her dad. She's the only girl, and her story about me is that I was taking her father away from her.
Wow.
And so I've had conversations with women before, whether it was an interracial couple or not, that they were like competing with that daughter. I've spoken with women like that, competing with somebody else's child, and the problem I have with that is that you're not being responsible for the future that you're creating by doing that. She was 15 at the time, and I was looking at what is life going to be like when she's 20. Right, and I wanted her to be happy. She's not going to be 15 always. I can wait. And so,
You're a smart young lady.
yeah, with that, and I'm a daddy's girl, so I got it. When Kinley Walker used to speak, and he'd be at the front of the room, and the people were greeting him, I would go down front in the church and hold his hand and mug all of the people. Why are you talking to my daddy, right? And so I understood where she was coming from, and I put her before me. I was really more concerned about all of the children than I was myself.
That's good.
Yeah, and it didn't take long. It took, like my husband said, a year. And within a year, because her mom had remarried and she was having difficulties with her stepfather, I just remember us talking about it. I still didn't know where we were necessarily going. I was a little afraid to get married, but yet I extended the invitation for her to come and live with me, and she did.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you guys bonded really well, and that's key, because I think a lot of times families do not realize that when a man and a woman marry and there's there are kids or children in that family, they marry that family and those kids. A lot of them think, well, no, I just married the woman or I just married the man, and we just gonna have separate lives independent of them. It doesn't work like that.
No.
When you marry into a family, you marry that family as well, contrary to what you might feel, and you want to create some real issues, you pull them away, and then when the holiday come around, Thanksgiving show up, okay, and they hadn't seen you for a whole year.
Yeah.
So I think it's an art to connecting with a family and keeping a relationship with each other, and know that when you marry into a family, you marry that family, contrary to what people might tell you.
Right.
Caroline?
Well, and I just want to say, I remember when we were going to get married, we actually had 2 ceremonies. And they were officiated by the same ministers. But the first one was in our home, and it was just us and our children.
Wow.
And it was so great. Each person, we went around and each person had something to say, and his oldest son was the first to start, and talking about how happy he was to have new siblings. And I remember Maddie looking at me and saying, I've never known love like this, the way you accepted me into your life in this home.
Wow.
And our family, like in that room that day, it wasn't just me and him getting married. We got married, didn't we, honey?
Wow.
Us and all of the kids and the grandkids, and
That's huge.
it was amazing.
Wow.
And so we did that with just us, and then we got married for everybody else, like later, with the big
Yeah,
ceremony.
now I got a little slight problem with that now. I didn't know about the 2 marriages. I should have been able to perform one.
I knew that. If you remember, Pastor, I did ask you to come and give me away, but you couldn't make it, so.
It's my wife's fault.
I know, sis.
We know.
That is really great. So we're so happy for you, and watching you grow up as a young lady, and you've always came across as a very jolly, happy young lady. But to see your life now, and to see how you are empowered, you were today. She's in Charlotte from Phoenix, and our department, our music department, or I should say our production department, needed fine tuning, and so she's gifted in that area. So she taught the class today, and boy, was it so powerful, her wisdom, her ability to communicate. I believe she's a connector. I believe my sister is a connector and a communicator. I just believe that, and she's just awesome. And I know that Mike, being the young man that he is, has connected with my wife, and they communicate very well. And that's what I noticed as we've spent these few days together here in the great city of Charlotte. I want to stop though and give a couple shout outs. I want to give a shout out to those who in Chicago. Let's give a shout out to all of our friends in Chicago.
Yeah.
Say hello to Chi-Town. Hey, Chi-Town. And then also I want to give a shout out to my hometown. I was just there last week. Had an awesome time. I was there a week. My sister Cleo there, if I don't start naming the book. All of my family there. I want to give a shout out to Detroit, Michigan. Give it up for Detroit. And I would be remiss if I did not say hello to my son in Florida and all of my wonderful grandkids. But I'm gonna let my darling baby. You name them out one by one in the Kiva. Give them a shout out, our family in Florida.
Okay, to our son David, his wife Nakiba, our oldest grand Brianna, middle Alyssa, and the last Nia. Also to all our other cousins and family in Florida. I love you, we miss you, hope you're seeing the show.
All right. Come on, son, give it up for him. All right, that's awesome, that's great. Well, this is great. Now tell us a little bit about, you guys met and things begin to come together. You guys end up getting married, and tell us about your careers and what you do and a vision for your life and what you're up to and the difference that you're out to make. Look in that camera and tell some folk, because you both are very successful, they may be struggling with their business, because both of you are business minded, both of you are very successful, and there might be a businessman out there that's going through some struggles, his business is falling apart, his marriage is falling apart, his life is falling apart, and so I want you to look in that camera and encourage someone out there and tell them how you guys made it through your difficult times or struggles in life coming up. You know how we go through our phases in life and we go through our changes in life, but you guys have proven yourself, you're successful. Now we want to help someone else to be successful.
Okay.
You wanna go first, babe?
Well, when it comes to, if you're struggling in your business or something like that, I've got this advice: don't squeeze so much. You know, I always think about a sponge, and when you have a sponge and you take it out the water and you squeeze it, you know, once all the water is out, you stop squeezing it so you can get more. And a lot of times when we're dealing with things and we have a vision and we want it, we tend to just keep squeezing. But when you let go and just relax, then more can come in. And I know right now that might seem difficult because you have concerns about whether or not you're gonna have enough money, or if you're gonna have to get a job, but just stop squeezing so that you can bring in new things and see things differently, have new ideas, or other people can come and help you. And really picture that. You're squeezing right now. I want you to just let go. That's what I did. That's been the key to where I'm at in business today. I've started this same business in different forms a few times over the year. And the first time I did it, I was in it too much. It was all about me. And even though I said that it wasn't, and it was. And then after that, the second time, it was just courage. I found that without me using my ego and all the other stuff that I had relied on the first time, I was kind of hesitant to just trust God and just to let go. And finally, I'm in the last phase where I'm not in it at all. It's all about the masses and what they get. And that's our couple's mission statement as well, that what we get, we share with the masses. And so that's wherever you are in one of those three phases right now, or if you're there at all, just let go and just trust. It really will work out.
That is awesome. That's a great advice. That's awesome. Mike?
And I was gonna go and start a career. I was thinking of happiness, right? So for years and years and years, I wasn't happy, right? I remember driving home late at, after work and thinking to myself, well, if I get in a wreck, who cares, right? I'm ready to come home, right? And, I never would have done anything about it, but those were just the thoughts going through my mind. It's like, man, this is no good, right? And so, but after I met this young lady, and, before I met her, I was this guy that wouldn't talk. I wouldn't talk to anybody. And so,
Least of all this, right?
right.
Right, exactly.
But
This is
the
huge.
funny thing is, we met it was at a business meeting. We ended up going out to lunch, right? And just in like 5 minutes, she got me to talk. Like we sat there for like 4 hours just talking back and forth, and it was like, wow, And it's funny, she's friends with my ex-wife, and
I love her.
she was telling her, hey, yeah, me and Mike were talking late the other night, and she stopped her and says, wait a minute, he talks to you?
Yeah.
It's like, wow. So, but yeah, just having that happiness and having your best friend, and I mean, who cares? It doesn't matter what color they are, or,
That's good.
it's like,
Does it?
it's love, it's friendship,
Right.
it's spending your time. We're on our first vacation, right? And we haven't had anything but fun. So,
That's great.
and yeah, it's awesome.
When I met him, everything that hurt with me stopped hurting.
Wow.
Like it was instant. And I can't remember at what point I experienced the shift. I just remember calling my mother because I had been home alone and I was like wiping the counters. And I was like, what is this feeling I have? What is this feeling? And I called my mom and she answered the phone. I was like, Mom, I just realized I'm happy. And I wasn't talking about the experience of something momentary. I was talking about a satisfaction that was it was there every day when I woke up. And I mean, like, we've known each other now 5 years and I've been happy every day. That's amazing to me. And what I want people to get is that I didn't have a bad person in my life before. He didn't have a bad person. He just told you me and her are friends. I like her. It's just that a lot of times we're responding to standards instead of principles. You know, standards said that I should be married at a particular time in my life, right? And it said that I should be married to a person that's this or that. And I responded to the standard. And I'm not talking about anybody doing something to me. I'm just talking about my response. You know, the person that I married, okay, they're a good guy. But with this one, I'm compatible with him. You know, we like all of the same music. We like all of the same things. When we walk together, we start on the same foot every time. And there are things that we share with each other in the beginning. Like I remember when he asked me out, I had concerns. I was like, have you ever been out with a black woman before? Mm-hmm. You know, because I didn't want to be a bucket list check mark, date a black girl before I'm 70 years old. And he said, no, he said, but I did ask a black girl out before. He said she was so pretty and she told me her family wouldn't understand. And I was like, well, too bad for her, right?
Well, this is great. Now, there's been some awesome painting of great times, and we certainly appreciate all of that. But what are some of the struggles that you guys have faced and have been able to master? Some of the difficulty, some of the challenges, you know, with, of course, being an interracial marriage in the community. You know, has anyone burned a cross in you? No, I'm just teasing.
We have stuff.
Oh, really? Well,
Yeah,
let's hear some
we've
of it.
had encounters
Let me
like
ask
that.
this, will that add to the cultural differences between the two of you?
No, it doesn't, because culturally we're a lot alike,
Okay.
right? Just not surface.
Right, okay.
Because we're both from the Midwest, so we have a lot of the same values, and we speak to neighbors, you know, so we have
Try
that.
to.
Right, he's from Iowa, I'm from Michigan, so we found that we had a lot of similarities in our upbringing. What we do encounter is all coming from outside, okay, when we go places. And it's amazing what people say. Like, I walked in, he and I have a business together and we were meeting with a client. I walk in with him and the guy that we're meeting with, he was like, oh, you brought your supervisor. And I was like, this is not my supervisor, this is my husband.
That's right, because she's in charge.
Right, but you're the boss. And so, he said, and people just blurt, he was like, well, you don't see that a lot. And I said, you don't see what a lot? Two people coming in to help you with your finances? And he said, no, he said, usually you see black men with white women. He said, you don't see black women with white men. And I nodded, because I know that there's a reason for that, right? We had to talk early. So I looked at him and I said, yeah, I said, I would agree with you. And he said, well, what's the problem? Don't you guys like us? And I said, we kind of conditioned not to, is what I said to him. And then I said, but if you wanna meet a black girl, I said, go meet you one, right? And he said, well, introduce me to someone. I'm like, I'm not gonna do that, right? But that was just one instance. But then I've had it, and Mike has been the recipient to it as well, where people were like staring at us and making sure that we get their disapproval. I have never had things happen to me like they happen when I've been out with him. I had a woman, I remember looking at her and I'm like smiling, and she frowned and then smacked into me, right? And he was holding my hand and we're walking and I'm like, ow. And then he was like, what are you doing, bumping into people? I was like, no, she bumped into me. And you know, it's I've had waitresses put his food down and throw mine, like, and I looked at him and I said, don't even act like that's not happening. And he was like, that, right, you know?
Now, I'm amazed at that because you're not just a pushover, so.
No, but it's a new world, and I have, and I analyze things, and I never thought that would happen. I know that black women get accused of doing things like that when they see black men with white women, and so for me to be the recipient of that, I've never had that before in my life, and so that, it kind of caught me off guard, but he's been the recipient of looks and things like that, and my husband was given pamphlets and materials, you know, invited to come to the Aryan Nation meeting. I was like, well, I won't go with you, but you know, just things like that. I've had ladies come in the restroom, black women, 2 women in the restroom, we were out, and they walked up to me and said, so are you married to that white guy out there? And I was like, yes. And they said, how did you do that? How did you get one? So I get all, I know, right? Like I'm pheasant hunting, you know, just, I shot them out the sky. So it's all kind of interesting things, but I think the most difficult one for me was when on Facebook, and I posted I was in a relationship and I was posting wedding pictures. That's kind of when I found out who was who, you know, and I'm not talking about just like First Lady said, where you were used to somebody else around and now you're getting used to, I'm talking about people that had a problem with the color, that unfriended me, but you know, a couple of people took, messaged me before hand and said, I don't believe you're doing this, and then unfriended me, and so that was kind of tough to be with. But I looked at it like this, unfriend me because I just got a life that I know that I came to the earth to live. And I had a man that looked at me and said, when I was resisting marrying him, he said, nobody is ever gonna love you the way that I love you. And he said, because I came to the earth to find you.
Wow. That is awesome. I am so proud of you too, because you know, I didn't have the privilege of going to the wedding. I missed that, and it was, you guys been married almost 3 years, and I'm just now actually meeting you. And what was so amazing is that your vacation, your first vacation together, you chose to come to Charlotte to meet with me and my wonderful wife, and we have had an extraordinary time together, living in our home, staying with us, fellowshipping, going out to dinner. It's been a time to get to know you, and I can honestly say that you're a genuine, sincere, honest man, and I'm just proud that you are my brother-in-law, and I want all of the studio audience to give it up for my brother-in-law. Oh, no, go ahead.
I'd like to say that just listening to you, Caroline, I've not heard your heart in a long time. And we have single ladies in our ministry that hearing what you just shared about, I've been sent to this earth for you, that just speaks such volumes. And I just hope it touches the heart of the ladies who are waiting for that man to come into their
Mr.
life.
Wright you're talking about?
Yes, and it doesn't matter what his color is. or the man who's waiting for that woman. It doesn't matter what her color is, but the fact of knowing that God is in the middle of it, and the happiness that is so needed. You exude happiness.
Yeah.
It spills from you like jelly from a jar, and or from my favorite sandwich, the peanut butter jelly, where the jelly is just oozing out from the side. That's what I see in the two of you. And Mike, I'm just meeting you. It was like, it wasn't a matter of I got to meet this white man, my sister-in-law's white husband. It was just a matter of meeting Mike.
Yeah, that's exactly
And
right.
when I met Mike,
You would
he
say
was
that too.
he was just Mike.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not seeing anything else. I'm just seeing Mike, my brother-in-law. And I embrace you for loving my sister.
Yeah.
I embrace you.
Well, we got about 2 more minutes. So in the last of this show, I want us to talk about some of the problems that in the church that has surfaced as far as perhaps pastors who refuse to marry interracial couples. We're gonna have to take that show up next week because I'm telling you, we're out of time. But that's an issue that I'd like to discuss. Racism in the church, where pastors are against interracial marriages. I've heard some horrible stories. I don't really want to believe them, but I've heard them even in the church. Now we expect that from the world,
Yes.
but the church has a standard.
Right.
And I love that. That's why I live for God today, is because of the standard that has been set through Christianity. There's a standard that we live up to. And one of that standard is that we love
Just love.
those who are unlovable. That's who we love. We love people for just who they are. We don't love you because it's because we love you. Well, we're out of time. We gotta go. I'm Dr. Randall Hall Walker, my awesome, extraordinary co-host, Bradella Hall Walker, and we say to you that we love you, and thank you, co-host, our host with us today, or our guest, I should say. So glad you're with us. We're out of time. I gotta go. Love you. Wish God very best to you.